Hello, everyone. I'm here tonight. It's about 8:15 my time. Doesn't really matter, but because I said tonight, why not be more specific? Okay, I'm here to talk about the vision of a better world outlined by Dan Willis. And this is Dan's version of the visualization to affect the planetary matrix. Dan's idea of a more ideal timeline for us from here onward, or from when he made the video onward. 10 months ago, he created this video and uploaded it. But this is, of course, a visualization we can do anytime. So I'm going to read it and make some comments. I may not read every line. I probably will. Anyway, it starts out by saying, imagine the following or better is realized now. A new, beautiful world is now realized on planet Earth. All of the dark criminal elements that have done crimes against humanity have been identified and brought to justice so that they can no longer detrimentally affect the billions of lives on Earth ever again. If you knew there was no organized crime of any consequence, how would that make you feel? A lot more secure, wouldn't it? Very happy for humanity as a whole. No mass murderers. I could go into who I think some of the mass murderers are and the means by which they've committed their crimes. But that wouldn't fly on YouTube, so but let me put it this way. There's a Dr. Dennis Rancourt, and he has a Substack, and I recommend you go check that out. And the hospitals in a certain country have a 99% cure rate for cancer, but other countries are not allowed to know and practice what they know. Well, there's a lot more along those lines, and let's see. I got to handle a little issue with my computer. I'm sorry. Um, okay, took care of that. Across the planet, there is great joy and celebration for the liberation of Earth from these dark elements. The hidden suppressed technologies of the secret space program are now no longer secret and are being put to use, benefiting all of humanity. Well, there are many hidden suppressed technologies, and I suspect most of them are used in the secret space program. Uh, some of them are used elsewhere, I guess. Anyway, the important thing is that they be released so that all people can benefit from them. Free energy. Free, free, free. Free energy, anti-gravity, and other things. All human trafficking and slave operations have been dismantled throughout the solar system. It says solar system. Did you realize that some people who are sent to prison, well, people sent to prison here on Earth tend to be forgotten, so it's easy enough to ship them off to other planets where they can be enslaved and used for slave labor. Certain people in the secret space program, in the parts of it that are run by white hats, have been engaged in freeing some of those slave colonies, or freeing the slaves in those operations. It goes on here. The deceptive centralized control of information by the mainstream media has been completely shut down, as well as their control of social media on the internet. And the media are now public utilities in service to the people without a controlling agenda. So they've had a controlling agenda since the times of John D. Rockefeller, who schemed to centralize them, and actually effectively did so. And there are certain channels on YouTube where you can um, listen to articles being read from the decades prior to that centralization of control. And there were entire classes of information that stopped being talked about under Rockefeller control. So if you're one of those people that say you read the book Forbidden Archaeology or similar material, right, about hidden history, there's Mystery History Channel, channels 1 and 2 on YouTube. I don't watch them now, but I did for a while. And that whole sort of thing. Well, this information of that type was once freely discussed, and it's quite surprising what you can learn about our history that you had no clue about if you go to people who have delved into old books and old newspapers and old magazines from before the era of Rockefeller control and the controlling agenda. Well, here we go. Open contact with advanced off-planet cultures allows the people of Earth to benefit from the knowledge and wisdom of cultures thousands of years beyond us in evolution. Humanity has been on Earth for a very long time, but we haven't been able to continuously build upon the learning of prior cultures and prior civilizations because there have been great cataclysms here that have wiped the slate clean over and over again. Our species has survived, evidently with help from off-planet civilizations, but we haven't had the opportunity to progress as we should have. So, anyway, open contact with advanced cultures. Are they benevolent? Are any of them benevolent? Um, I've been having a discussion about this with one of my friends who has certain doubts, and I can understand having those doubts. I don't agree with my friend, and I hope that rather I will ultimately sway her to believe me. But in reality, everybody has to do their own due diligence. I've done, not going to digress very far down this line, down this track, but in a few weeks, a matter of a few weeks, a couple of months, I've done a very deep dive, considering the time period involved, into the intel that Elena Danaan, try to pronounce her name correctly, has been sharing since she became the emissary for the Galactic Federation of Worlds. And I'm convinced by it. And as I said, I'll be making videos about why. At least four, well, excuse me, I think it's three or four different lines of uh, evidence, let's say, that I find convincing. And in reality, as I was telling my friend, I watch a variety of videos, and some of them feature Elena's friends and colleagues, or um, what's the word? People who are telling, who know her and are telling stories that corroborate hers, and vice versa. But there are people that really don't seem to have much to do with Elena. They're doing their own thing. They have their own contacts with advanced ET cultures and so on. And then there are people who are just reviewing historical information. And as I said just a moment ago, that's been most of it's squirreled away somewhere where it can be found, but you have to go digging. But when this truthful information comes out, it brings a lot of things to light, and some of them corroborate Elena's message. So every day I gain more corroboration, or her message does in my eyes, in my estimation. So let's go on for the moment. We'll come back to that another time. Our educational system, with the assistance of advanced cultures, gives children the opportunity to reach their highest potential in understanding subjects like science and the Earth's true history. And, you know, um, as I said, this is Dan's model. Now, you can add things and take things out and change things around if you want to. But he says, in understanding science and the Earth's true history, well, I think there's a lot to be added to that. It's part of it is in understanding ourselves and knowing our true potential and being motivated to work toward expressing that in different ways, not just in science and history, although those are important subjects. And I'm going to move ahead here. Okay, yeah, the next slide. Hooray. The corrupt medical and pharmaceutical corporations that operate for profit over people are totally replaced with the release of the advanced holographic medical technologies, alleviating all suffering from sickness and disease. And friends, we need to know whether viruses exist, whether germ theory is correct, whether alternative theories of the causes of sickness and disease are correct instead, or if some combination of these ideas applies. I think some combination of them applies. The basic theories of illness. So, going on here, lifespans can now be realized into the hundreds of years. Overpopulation is not a concern, with remote areas now being inhabitable, as well as off-planet locations. So, most of us probably want to continue living on Earth. There might be some who would be up for more exotic locations elsewhere in the solar system. One person that I like a lot and listen to says all the planets in the solar system and many of the moons and dwarf planets um, are inhabited. Of course, the people live underground because the surface is too hot, too cold, has no atmosphere, and or too much atmosphere in the case of Venus and the giant planets. But if you have the technical capabilities of our ET cousins, it makes sense that it would be possible to inhabit all the planets in the solar system. Now, you may say, well, certainly not Jupiter because the gravity would be crushing. But I understand that fifth density Jupiter is a lovely place. And yeah, so we have to think in terms not only of what you and I know about the planets, including our own Earth, but what about other dimensions and what about other densities? All the planets are habitable in some way to some people, ET people, if not human. All obsolete and dangerous technologies involving nuclear, oil, and coal have been replaced with clean zero-point energy systems. So there'll be this transformation of the energy industry. And can you even call it an industry anymore? Yes, it will be an industry in the sense that people will go to work to ensure that everybody has plenty of energy. But the energy issue, more than anything else, is a it's a matter of transitioning humanity to a post-scarcity world, a post-scarcity economy, and it's almost unimaginable how that will transform everything. And people who are concerned about freedom and being able to live where they want and being able to be embedded in nature if they want, or living under the ocean, or living in the world's largest city, if that sort of thing appeals to you. Living in flying cities in the air, up in the atmosphere, and probably not too close to the ground. You don't want to see a big city go flying over your head necessarily. But there will be materials that have the ability to defy gravity built into them. So, in other words, imagine a material that's designed to nullify gravity. So let's say if you don't hold it down, it will fly off into space. I mean, things like that probably exist, or they do exist. We've been assured that they exist, and just the material is made in such a way that's its natural behavior. It's in a planetary gravity field. Let's say it would naturally float at a height of 3 miles above the surface, based on air pressure and gravity, things like that. I'm not trying to bring things up that are just seem unbelievable. That's not the point, but these are actually things that have been discussed. So we go on here, and this is more along the lines of post-scarcity. Replicator systems can now create anything to be formed out of the holographic matrix, which means if it exists anywhere in reality, an unlimited amount of it could be created. So gold will likely become an industrial resource. Silver will be an industrial resource if they're sufficiently valuable from a in terms of their characteristics as materials, and not based on their rarity. Same thing with diamonds or anything else. Then they will still be viewed as valuable, of course, but not because they're scarce. Because it would be possible to create unlimited amounts of them at will. Let's say every home has a replicator, and you want some raw materials for something. You have a 3D printer, let's say, and so you can make anything you want, but for the raw materials, you might need, I don't know, some kind of wood-like substance. Well, you can say, go to your replicator and say, I want a block of wood comparable to balsa wood or some hardwood, and I want it so big. And the replicator will go to work, and a little bit later you'll have that block of wood. As an example, it could be gold, it could be anything. It could be food. You've seen Star Trek and the food replicators, so yeah, they actually have that out in ET land. So continuing on, the basic necessities of water, food, and shelter are now available to everyone. So poverty, hunger, and premature death from illness will have been eliminated. The new financial system replaces the present easily corruptible one, and the laws that apply, let's say, to finance, which are now set up so that all the risk is assumed by borrowers and the lender assumes none. and other unfair, unequitable things are allowed and encouraged, and that will be replaced by sanity and fairness. A new communication system utilizing the principles of quantum entanglement will replace, or has replaced in our visualization, the distance limited and biologically harmful electromagnetic communication systems. I would add something in here too that will continue using electricity, but the electrical systems we will use will not give off harmful electromagnetic frequencies, and the electricity will be safe to use and beneficial to the human biology. And a new internet based on quantum communication, allowing instantaneous, secure access to uh, any data that we need from any location. So, yeah, we probably can't imagine some of the details that will emerge, some of the capabilities that will be commonplace that seem impossible to us now. This is coming very soon. This is how far out are we imagining here? 1,000 years? No. 100 years? Maybe not even that. Maybe a decade, maybe 2 decades, maybe three. But many of us will live to see some of these things being rolled out, or perhaps the the complete fulfillment of what's mentioned here and other things. Anti-gravity and teleportation systems replace all obsolete transportation systems. Now, we already have tunnels that link the deep underground bases that exist, or deep, we'll call them underground cities that exist in various places. And these are evacuated tubes with magnetic levitation vehicles inside them that travel at basically orbital velocity under the ground between distant locations. The oceans are cleared of radiation and toxic waste. Just imagine that. How is that going to be done? Weather engineering is no longer used as a warfare tool. Our planet is being renewed with technology that works in harmony with nature. So, technology can be part of the solution, part of, as someone asked me, are they going to terraform the Earth? Well, only in a way that restores it to its ideal state. So there will be a great regreening. Humanity now directs its attention to spiritually evolving rather than simply surviving. And if you're familiar with Abraham Maslow's famed hierarchy of needs, it's got survival at the bottom. If you're occupied all the time with surviving, you can't do anything more interesting and more fun. But the hierarchy goes up, ascends in terms of interesting and fun to the very top. And so we're talking about life being as interesting and fun as it possibly can be, and everybody enjoying an extremely rich life intellectually, using all of our capabilities. Remote viewing will be commonplace. There will be no more secrets. If you want to know about that, go listen to Peter Gabriel's song, Here Comes the Flood, which was written about that, about everybody being telepathic and being able to know what everybody else is doing. So, you know, it's not to say that remote viewing can't be blocked. I think it can. Some teachers and people who've been doing it for a long time say it can't, but what I've gotten from, let's say, off-planet military organizations is, of course, you know, we don't let people look into everything about what we're doing. And of course, we don't let them know everything about our ships, because they could figure out how to blow us up. So what is done to block people? Well, the remote viewer will see something, but it's illusional. You know, it's it's not what's really there. They're diverted by a cover situation. Some remote viewers would rather not believe that, but I think that's true. Children now studying through a vast library depository of knowledge can look back through history at the tremendous changes that the people of Earth faced, and that this solving those challenges has brought us to today's world. And the children vow never to allow this to happen again to their beloved planet. And they're filled with gratitude to all those who contributed to the beautiful new world they now experience. So I'm sure you can see why this message appeals to me. There may be some things in here that you question. Well, would I really like that? Or or that might be for somebody else, but not for me. Well, that's fine. Nobody's going to force you to partake of any aspects of it that you find um, less than pleasing. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a world with lots of challenges, but they're not the traumatizing types of challenges that we often have to deal with in today's world. There won't be threats to life and limb. There won't be wars. And, there are various religions that say, oh, heaven is like this, or the paradise earth of the future that God's going to give us is like this. And there are other stories, fairy tales about utopias and ideal worlds. Well, this is coming pretty close to it, but it's not just a fairy tale, and it's not a tale of, you have to follow a certain set of rules to get here. No, there's room for diversity as long as people aren't hurting one another. And this is for the whole human species ultimately. Although people that want to do bad things and lord it over others and exploit others, uh, well, they won't be allowed to. If such people exist and they can't be healed, then they'll have to be isolated somewhere. And there's plenty of space on the Earth, and there's plenty of space in outer space on other planets that if those people have to be isolated, they can go somewhere. And because we'll live in a post-scarcity world, that such places need not seem like a prison, really. It's just that the people that are dedicated to causing trouble can't leave there and come and interfere with the rest of us. So I heard a remote viewing story, and the problem with remote viewing the future, as Tony Rodriguez says, is that whenever you view it, you change it in some way. But or people look um, at probable futures or possible futures sometimes, because you can even create a tasking for a remote viewing session that specifies look at a future in which this happens and what else is going on around that, right? So that can give you clues as to what prerequisite events might happen that would make the future turn out that way, and things like that. So, anyway, what this one remote viewing scenario was that the cabal or the remnants of the cabal will eventually leave and go to Mars and have colonies there where they live, and they won't be bothering us here on Earth anymore, and that the Earth will become much more peaceful and beautiful when that happens. So I think I've taken up more than enough time here, about 30 minutes, and came to the end. think that was the end. Let me double check. Let's see. I have to move this forward a little bit. Yeah. And then Dan admonishes to imprint your vision using techniques or the method described earlier in the video. So imprint your vision on the planetary matrix. Tell the wisdom goddess who runs things here what you want. And if we all call the tune, the piper will lead us to reason. I'm quoting Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. But anyway, I don't know about a piper, and well, it is reasonable. It's sane and humane and beautiful what Dan described. So, yeah, I think I'll end there, and I could come up with more comments, but I just wanted to walk through that and talk a little bit about it and bring out mainly the idea of the post-scarcity world. And you could look that up, read up on it, you know. But Star Trek, I keep coming back to Star Trek. So Star Trek was all about gallivanting around out in space, and some people don't like that. They'd rather have a story about a beautiful natural planet somewhere like the Earth without a whole lot, going on in terms of excitement, like things that happen in cities, for example. But a rather, what's the word, bucolic, placid life out in the country, pastoral, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So anyway, I think Star Trek occasionally refers to situations like that. Um, People live in a little rural village somewhere. Jean-Luc Picard had his estate, his family estate, and vineyards and so on. And if he could just stay retired long enough, he could actually enjoy that. So anyway, those sorts of lifestyles will be supported by the Star Trek world of the future. But the main point of Star Trek, or the main point I want to highlight here, not the main point, obviously, but there were stories with conflict and resolution and all that from one episode to the next. But if you didn't live in one of these hubs of excitement with all these different species continually interacting and drama happening, it would be a post-scarcity world anyway, and things will settle down. Like, I will use an example here about having tons of kids. I was talking in there about overpopulation at one point in Dan's model visualization. Well, why would we have overpopulation? Can't we regulate our reproduction so that the population remains relatively stable? You go up a little bit, you go down a little bit, you go up a little bit. And we wouldn't have a boom followed by a bust. And right now, worldwide, we're in somewhat of a bust. So older people like me are proliferating. There's more and more old people, fewer and fewer people capable of working and interested in working. And it's creating some major problems, and the problems are foreseen to get worse in the future. This new ET technology, which will enable more productivity with fewer people working, will be very helpful. It might save us from absolutely horrible, um, suffering and death in the future. you know, to be a little bit explicit about it, but it's worthwhile thinking about these things, right? About the serious threats that we're facing as a global civilization. And we need this technology to survive and thrive. The cabal members don't want us to survive and thrive. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that the Greys were planning to take over the planet and eliminate all the humans and replace us with gray human hybrids. And some of the people that might happen across this channel might happen to be gray human hybrids, whether they know it or not. Well, they're not bad people, okay, but they may have certain tracks running in their minds that were put there by the Greys and the Grey Hive before it was dismantled. So we have problems on our planet. The problems of the remnants of the cabal, people that have been thoroughly duped by them, who, if they come across this channel, will have bad things to say to me and about what I'm saying. Um, and there are these people that are having meltdowns because their agendas can't be pushed and forced on everybody else. The recent U.S. election demonstrated some of that. And people who are just believe all the mainstream narratives. And what else? Okay, so we have gray human hybrids. We also have some reptilian human hybrids. I know people whose behavior, well, let me put it this way. I've recently become familiarized with the reptilian behavioral profile, the SICAR, and a little bit about their psychology. And I see that there are people who follow suit, right? Humans. And I wonder if some of them are part reptilian. Well, so we also have to integrate relations with um, spiritually and technologically far more advanced species out there. And they're not going to tell us what to do and how to do it. They're, oh, I've been talking for almost 40 minutes. Anyway, the solar system is being run primarily by humans now. It seems a little premature to me, but anyway, it is what it is. And we'd better step up to the plate and take responsibility for our own planet, Earth, and the humans on Mars take responsibility for Mars. The humans on Ganymede take responsibility for that world, and the humans on Triton, the moon of Uranus, take responsibility for that, and humans elsewhere in the solar system, on the moons of Saturn, for example, and on Earth's moon and elsewhere, will have responsibility. Now, if it's true that all the planets and many of the moons and dwarf planets are inhabited, I don't know if humans are on all of them, but they're inhabited by somebody. So, we humans will have a lot of responsibility. So, the younger people and the older people and everybody, we have to start thinking in terms of quite serious responsibilities and being able to handle them well. So, what else is there to say? Well, just that we're going to have problems with interhuman relations. We've always had those problems. Race relations, international relations between different cultures and ethnic groups, and so on. But here's hoping we very quickly, now that we have the off-planet negative influences are being finally totally eliminated. For all intents and purposes, they're gone. And the power of the cabal has basically been broken, and their influence is going to be decreasing. Well, um, we have opportunities to avoid situations in which we end up behaving unreasonably, or we end up giving up on diplomacy and going to war. We won't be needing to do that anymore, not very much longer. I know it seems relatively unbelievable because we've lived with bloody conflicts going on all our lives. Let's look forward to a better future. Let's imprint our optimism and our ambitions into the mind of Gaia and the heart of Gaia. She has a mind and a heart, or equivalent parts of her psyche, just as we do. And I think on that point, I've been here for a little more than 40 minutes, so I will cease. Let's see. I've been. I should have done that for the last video and then this video, but it's escaped my attention until now. So now you have a better view of me at the very end of this video. But I'll try to keep things like this. You know, that's just my laptop screen with the little webcam right there. Okay, thank you, and like and subscribe if indeed you did like what I've had to say here, and you want to hear more of it. Turns out this subject matter is so rich and so beautiful and so worth sharing that I could easily make a video a day for the foreseeable future. On some days more than one video. So I may not have time to do that. I'll put videos up here often, however, and yeah, I hope you need and want to know when you're going to get a new video from me, because there is a lot of subject matter, and it's a very varied subject matter that I want to talk about. And not all of it is going to be strictly ET related either. There will be videos about remote viewing, there will be videos about subtle energy science and other subjects. So I really look forward to the channel's future, whether or not I get a whole a great number of subscribers, whether or not it gets monetized. Well, it needs to get monetized at some point in order to support me continuing. And definitely, otherwise I'll have to be working at some other job, which I actually intend to do. But I'll be forced to do that, and I won't have multiple streams of income, which won't be as good. You know what I mean. So, hasta la vista. See you later. We'll talk another time. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Tell your friends and neighbors, relatives. Come check out this channel with this crazy guy talking about ETs and stuff. All right. I'm gone now. Talk to you again soon.